It is
It is
Thursday
Thursday
for the
for the
6th, 2022. We are, just lost my screen. Hold 1 second. Let's see. Okay. We are calling to order our Affordable Housing Committee meeting, and we would now accept the roll call.
All right. Good morning again and happy October. We have Councilman Hamilton,
Here.
Councilman Dan Wood,
Here.
John Nickel, Meg James,
Here.
Denolis Polite, Gwen Chambers, and Grace Staples.
Here.
Okay. It's we do have a quorum, so we'll get started with our meeting. Before we get started, is there anything, Miss Smalls, you want us to be aware of before we get started?
No, sir. We are good to go. Welcome to October. Everyone is present and accounted for, so we can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Before we have the agenda, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposes? Thank you. Ayes have it. We'd also like a motion to adopt the minutes from August.
That is a typo. I do apologize.
September.
Several eyes went across it, so I do
September.
apologize. It's September 1st.
September 1st meeting. Can I get a motion to accept those meetings, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. And there's no old business and new business. We have several items: neighborhood assistance program, budget update, the smalls. We're ready.
All right, I'm gonna flash through a couple of our slides that we've already looked at. So again, our budget update reporting on October 2nd, October 6th, 2022. The adopted budget for the fiscal year of 23 was adopted at $190,000. Town staff continues to process applications to assist income qualified households for this fiscal year. As of September 29th, when this report was submitted, $69,253 has been and will be spent to repair 12 homes for roof repairs and septic pump outs. And like I said, that was as of last week. Our minutes and agenda go out a week before, so that number is as of last week, Thursday. And for a more number-oriented sheet, here is what we have. Major home repairs, we're moving with that. We have 9 so far this fiscal year. We did 9 are in the lineup. For property cleanup and septic pump out, we did 5 or have done 5. And tree mitigation, such as damaged or diseased trees, or just trimming off the limbs from roofs that we are repairing, we did 1 so far. That list has doubled in the past week. Honestly, it has doubled in the last week because the repair estimates that we were waiting for has finally come in. So again, we are at October and the program is out there. The word is out. So we are doing what we have been tasked to do. And I just want to say the homeowners are appreciative, even if it's a small job, such as septic pump out. We are doing, what we've been tasked to do, and the dollars are being spent. I'm not just spending it. Our staff looks over it Kevin and Charlotte look over it, they approve it, and we go from there. So if I have to come back to you with my hands out, please don't deny me. Any comments or
job.
questions?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman,
Did we
did we
lose him?
lose the chairman?
Let me make my screen. Yes, I think he dropped out. I think he was on his computer, but listening from his phone. So he should be coming back in pretty soon. I think he had two different devices going on.
There he is.
Okay.
Let's see if he can hear.
Mr. Hamilton, can you hear us? Are you
He's
back?
muted.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I missed the end of your report. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just letting you know that what you see now is I have maybe about 5 or 6 more applications that are in the process. This report was put in last week, Thursday. So we did get a few of the estimates that we were waiting on approved. So they are in the queue. Those dollar amount is not on this form, but it will be on next month, being that it's on a monthly basis. So I was just letting everyone know the dollars are being spent. Staff looks at everything that I have and they get those things approved. So if I come back out with my hands open for a bigger pocketbook, please don't deny me, because we're working. Because we're working. I think Councilman Wood had a comment or question for you, Chairman.
Okay.
Yes, and I think this has been touched on once before, but we might want to consider looking into it to whether we need to formalize it or not. But so as the program is, the way I recall, the Safe and Dry, for example, the roof repair is $10,000, and then you can come back for an additional $5,000. Is that correct?
I think we upgraded the roof repair to 15.
And we come back for an additional 5 if needed.
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure of, because again, with costs escalating the way they have, I just wanted to be sure that we weren't under pricing our ability to do what we need to do. So that's been addressed. Okay, thank you.
Can I jump on that? Can I piggyback behind that?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, to that question, those dollars are there, but prices have gone further up than that also. So when we're looking at a roof, and then when we come back in and do the inside, and this might be an outside discussion for us to have outside of the camera, but just keep in mind that yes, dollar amounts have gone up, prices have gone up. So I think we might need to still adjust that if possible, the additional 5, because that 20 would be considered the roof and the inside. So if we can sit down and have a roundtable discussion off air, just kind of look at some things. I'm actually going over to Natalie this morning to have a meeting about our numbers. So I just want to make sure that I'm not spending more than I'm supposed to be spending and hit our budget before we get there. Natalie over in finance.
I think you still find when we increased the budget allowance for 15,000, that was only for the roof. That didn't have anything to do with the inside repairs or roof, or windows and doors and floors.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Well, to your comment, Victoria, I would say that if you have a special situation where you're running behind in funding, you just bring that back to us.
Oh yeah, that comes
Yep.
straight to you guys. Yeah, that's not a me decision. No, sir. That comes back to you guys, of course.
Well, and then the other part I would suggest is review your numbers before each budget process. And then we can incorporate any needed increases into that process.
Yep. I'm on it already.
Thank you.
I'm on it already. Yes, sir.
Any other budget or financial report questions? Very good. Hearing none. Thank you, Victoria.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you I'm gonna let you take the next item as well.
Okay. I'm going to go back to our agenda so we can see where we are. Under discussion, we have South Carolina State Housing Finance and Development Authority, Ms. Felicia Kilgore, and she is the Housing Trust Fund Manager with that program. I spoke with Ms. Felicia several months ago. Time moved so fast. We sat and had a Zoom meeting, and she had some ideas of how we can join with other forces to gain more money and to help more residents, over what we do now, just kind of join forces and get some more ideas and more nonprofit agencies like what we are doing in order to help and expand our program. So I will pass it over to Ms. Felicia. Let's listen attentively and see what we can gain from her presentation. Ms. Felicia.
Good morning. Good morning, Victoria. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and following up with me as well. Also, good morning to Mr. Chairman Hamilton and all the members of the council for the city of Bluffton. Good morning to all of you. Yes, I'm with the South Carolina Housing Finance and Development Authority. We have a long title. We always say South Carolina Housing for short. We're located here in Columbia. And I help oversee the Housing Trust Fund program. First, let me say to you all doing some wonderful things to reach out to the residents there in your area, providing them with home repairs. I'm excited to see that you all are involved in home repairs because the need is there. Of course, we have funding to hopefully broaden the opportunity to reach more residents, but I certainly want to go into more details of our program so that you understand how you may qualify to receive the additional dollars. We do have dollars, and as a matter of fact, we can't spend it fast enough, so to speak. So we are always looking for additional partners to provide more assistance to those homeowners in need of repairs. If you all have any questions, with any of the information that I share this morning, please do not hesitate to stop me and ask questions along the way, just for more clarity, better understanding. So with the Housing Trust Fund, those dollars are state issued dollars, come directly from the state. We receive those funds from the South Carolina State Treasury. And where those dollars actually comes from is each purchase transaction, each real estate purchase transaction that is done, that is closed throughout the entire state. Each purchaser pay a documentary stamp tax as a part of their closing costs. So out of that documentary stamp tax fee that's added to their closing costs, we receive a percentage of those funds. Of course, those dollars come to the state, and the state allocates a percentage of those funds to go directly to the Housing Trust Fund program. And so the legislative statute have given us the authority to administer those dollars on behalf of the state. And based on our legislative guidelines that's been slated for us to abide by, is that we must work with nonprofit organizations to allocate those funds to help serve the residents of South Carolina. And we utilize those funds in a few different activities. One being home repair. Okay. Secondly, we used a nice portion of those dollars to support our small rental development program. Still working with nonprofit organizations to create, to acquire, to rehab rental units for prospective tenants 50% below of the average median income. Thirdly, we use those funds to support supportive housing units, and that is generally for individuals that are transitioning from homelessness or assist individuals who are disabled, suffering from a lifelong disability, and so they qualify for the supportive housing. And so with that being said, there must be some supportive housing services in place to support the supportive housing units. So, but our bread and butter, and I say bread and butter, is the home repair, because that's our everyday activity. Application that comes in, request that comes in from homeowners, and we work with nonprofits throughout the entire state. So just kind of give you just a little bit more information about our home repair program. We allocate $50,000 per homeowner. And of course, we work with homeowners 50% below of the average median income. And when we create this program, we thought $50,000 would actually go a long way. But I just heard you all mention, and we're seeing the exact same thing. Construction costs have gone up so much. Construction costs, the material, as well as the labor. So we're seeing that the $50,000 doesn't go as far as we thought it would. With that $50,000 that we have in place, we also are addressing lead-based paint, mold remediation, as well as radon. Now, radon is a requirement in the Greenville County area. It does not apply in the Beaufort County where you guys are actually located. So with that being said, we're assisting with lead-based paint, mold remediation, and we also assist with asbestos in the homes within the $50,000. So if we identify lead-based paint, mold, asbestos, and if all those things needs to be remediated as a part of the home repairs, we do allocate an additional $25,000 to assist with the remediation of those hazardous materials that's been identified. So in terms of identification, how those things are identified in the homes, we do require that the nonprofit engage a testing firm to test those homes for lead as well as asbestos. A lot of times mold can be identified just from the eye, just from viewing the property. And then of course we can determine, or the contractor will determine what extra cost is involved to remediate the mold. So essentially, we could provide up to $75,000 per homeowner to assist with all those things. I must say this in terms of being able to move forward with those types of repairs, and when we are investing dollars in the home, anything more than $15,000 will require a restricted covenant to be filed against that property. And so I want to ask you all the question: do you all require any type of covenant or filing or anything such as that with each property that you assist with the funds that you use with the repairs?
No, ma'am, we don't at this time. No, ma'am.
Okay. And may I ask one more question? What funding source do you all utilize to provide the assistance?
We use this a line item under our budget for the year, so we don't have any outside sources.
Okay. So it's no federal dollars, things like that involved?
No.
Okay. Well, how about that? So with that being said, you may not be required to enforce the lead-based paint and the asbestos regulation, things of that nature when you use those types of funding sources, which could be a good thing. A lot of times you can provide assistance, without having those extra parameters and costs that drives up the project. So, but, and we've tried to skirt around that process as well, but DHEC says something different in terms of our funding source. So that's the reason why we're having to enforce the lead-based paint, asbestos, and of course radon in the Greenville areas. So like I mentioned, anything that we invest in a property, $15,000 and above, will require a 20-year restricted covenant filing against the property. It is set up as a forgivable loan. The homeowner doesn't pay a thing. They will not receive any type of documentation in terms of a statement or billing. It's a forgivable loan, but we will file a restricted covenant for anything invested in the property $15,000 and above. We've been asked many times, many questions around, well, what happens in terms of the restricted covenant? If the homeowner decides to sell the property, if the homeowner passes away, what happens to that restricted covenant? So a lot of times, if the homeowner passes away and the home is transferred over to a sibling or transferred to someone else or even sold, as far as that goes, that's when the restricted covenant will come to light. If the attorney do a title search, they'll see that restricted covenant filing. So a lot of times we will ask for that dollar amount that was invested in that property to be paid back to South Carolina Housing if it's sold. And so we'll provide a prorated dollar amount, prorated balance amount, what is still owed that have not been completely forgiven. Okay, because a portion is forgiven each year until the 20th year comes around, is totally forgiven. If the home stays in the homeowner's name and the ownership doesn't changes, but they decide to have a sibling move in or one of their children move into the home, the restricted covenant remains there. That means the ownership doesn't necessarily changes, and they'll just ride that restricted covenant out, and we will not enforce it to be paid back to us. But as soon as it changes ownership on a legal document is recorded, that's when the restricted covenant will come to light, like I mentioned, and then we'll ask for a prorated dollar amount back that may be still owed on the funds. And so for Beaufort County, we only have one nonprofit that's serving that area, which is the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce. And I think they're actually located in, it's in Beaufort. Are you all familiar with that organization by any chance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are in communication quite a bit with Ms. Valeria Richardson. She's our contact person down there. And she's been actively assisting as many homeowners as she possibly can. But we are always seeking other nonprofit organizations to partner with us. And so I was asking Ms. Victoria to see if you all know of any nonprofit that we can reach out to, or where you all may be interested in forming a new nonprofit on behalf of Bluffton, that you can certainly look in and seek partnership with us so that we can provide those funds to that organization to provide more assistance.
What is the requirement for the nonprofit to be eligible for your program?
Okay, so yes. So one of the requirements that we're looking for, generally the nonprofit has to be in business for at least 1 year. Okay. They have to have a board in place. They have to have some bylaws drawn up with a mission to serve and provide affordable housing assistance to low-income residents in the area that they serve. They do have to specify the area that they're willing to serve. And one of the reasons why we ask that they specify the areas that they serve. Once you become an approved nonprofit of our organization, your name will be on our website, okay, and your contact information, so that everyone will have access to. So we receive calls from your area. We refer those calls to your organization. or if someone is just exploring and looking for opportunity for assistance and they so happily fall upon our website, they will have access to your information. So when you specify the area that you're willing to serve, those phone calls will come through because of the exposure in terms of being affiliated with South Carolina Housing. So, so that's one. Secondly, we do ask that you have some financials in place. Okay, we can start a nonprofit organization out as small as $5,000 in liquid assets so that they can kind of get started in the program and really assist the homeowners in that area. However, though, with those nonprofit with the $5,000 in liquid assets, they're only allowed to carry one project at a time. One project at a time. Once they've got a few projects in place, they're managing the project fairly well, meeting the deadlines, because we do monitor the projects and we do issue deadlines on when we expect the project to be closed by. We allow them to carry 2 projects open at a time once they kind of understands the process. Now, for those nonprofits that has $10,000 in liquid assets and more, we allow them to carry up to 5 projects at a time. If you just get started in home repairs, but you guys have experience, if you just get started in home repairs, we won't really only allow you to carry just 3 projects at a time until you've got the experience working in the Housing Trust Fund. You understand the process, the expectation, meeting your deadlines in terms of closing out your projects timely. That's when we'll transition you to the 5 open projects at one time. And then we want to ensure that you have a staff in place, because once you become an approved nonprofit, like I mentioned, you will get calls. So we want to ensure you have a dedicated staff that can answer those phone calls, process those applications, and then of course have someone on staff that has some construction knowledge in terms of repairs. And of course, I know that you all do because you're dealing with that now. And so you're in communication with contractors now. So we want to ensure that that nonprofit have someone in place that have some knowledge. Is there any questions that you have thus far?
Yes, ma'am. The town of Bluffton, if we were able to use your program, and we don't have this restrictive covenant as one of our requirements right now, do you, the funds that you provide, do you provide the covenant, or you will require us to provide the covenant?
So, great question, Mr. Hamilton. We have the restricted covenant already in place.
Okay.
So what we would do, we'll customize it with your name associated with it, the homeowner's name associated with it, and we'll get information on the property with the legal description. So we'll complete it for you. Once it's completed, we'll email it to the organization for them to execute and take it to the their local clerk of court to file. All expenses that are associated with carrying out the project, the activity, all expenses are reimbursed. Like if you have a project that needs to be tested with lead-based paint, that firm is going to charge you a fee. We will cover all those fees. For the filing of the restricted covenant, we will cover those fees. Now, you may have to pay some of the fees up front, and that's strictly to satisfy your contractor or to satisfy your testing firm. We have some nonprofits that are financially stable where they can do that up front, which is wonderful, but we do have nonprofits that don't have that capability. So they just have to wait until they receive our dollars to pay those testing firms or even contractors as far as that goes. Time frame on how long it may take to get you those dollars when you submit your request for funding. It may take 2 to 3 weeks to get that monies to you, okay, to pay your contractor or necessarily get reimbursed for funds that you've expended. Now, we do pay the nonprofit we call it a project delivery fee for carrying out the activity. And so, and how that project fee is calculated based on the total dollar amount of that project. That includes construction costs, any costs involved in terms of the testing, any additional costs involved in terms of the remediation, the total cost involved for that project. We will pay a 15% fee, and that fee goes to the nonprofit organization. So if you had a project running around $75,000, for instance, we will pay that organization $11,000 for closing it out. I think if the project cost is around $50,000, I think they will earn $7,500 to kind of give you an idea on what type of fee we will pay that organization for closing out and carrying out the activity.
Does it pay? So that fee, in terms, covers all their staffing and as well. Is that what you're saying?
That fee is used based on the discretion of the nonprofit. We don't tell you how to disperse it. You can certainly use those funds to pay your staff, absolutely. And any costs involved, for gas and things of that nature from going back and forth to the homeowner's home. But we definitely leave that totally up to the nonprofit.
I'm going to open it up for questions from staff or any board member, committee members.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
a question. So this money from your housing authority is directly to the nonprofit. You're not going through a COG or through a county.
Is that question for me or is it for
you? Yes, ma'am. For you.
Yes, sir. So our funds goes directly to the nonprofit organization. We have not worked in terms of the home repair with one of the COGs. We worked in previous years, many years, with nonprofit organizations. I will say this. Although we have not done it, but is eligible. We can work directly with municipalities, such as yourself, such as your organization. However, those funds are not given to you or not provided to you in terms of a grant or based on our legislative. They have given us instruction and guidelines to offer those dollars to municipalities as a low-cost loan, okay? Based on the statute of the Housing Trust Fund that came directly from the state. And so that's the reason why I didn't present that to you. The only reason why I didn't present it to you that way, because we have not had a local municipality to agree to those terms yet. But if that's something that you'd like to put in place, we can certainly do that. But it's a very low cost loan, like a 1% loan that we can allocate funds to you. But yes, it's available, but we generally work with non-profit organizations because those funds are given to them to carry out the activity, and we pay them for closing it out successfully.
My second question part of that is you were talking about the money attributable to a home like $50,000, and you could go up another 15,000 based on mitigation. But I guess my question is say that a municipality was able to request funding. What's the limit? In other words, is there a dollar amount that's limited on what you can achieve from the state? Like, would a certain nonprofit or a municipality be limited to $100,000 or $200,000? What's the limit?
So generally, we provide funding to the nonprofit based on application. We have not allocated funds in a lump sum dollar amount like 100,000 or 150,000, those sorts of things. Once you have identified a homeowner, you've taken their application, collect all the necessary documents that we do require. You'll send that application package into us, and we allocate those funds based on allocation. So if you're able to process 10 applications, those 10 allocated project amounts will be allocated towards your organization.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I will say this, we have in the past, several years ago, allocated funds, just as you've asked a question. We went through that process. Unfortunately, at that time, we had allocated funds set aside, and the funds wasn't dispersed, wasn't spent, was not used. So that's the reason why we changed that format based upon application coming in from the nonprofits. And so we allocate funds per application.
Ms. Kilgore, I have a question. Just, I like statistics more than anything. How many homeowners have we served like in the last year? Or I know you work through the nonprofits. Do you keep a record of how many? I know you have the covenants in place.
So last year, and I will say this, last year, we operated what we call the emergency repair program, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where it provided up to $10,000 per homeowner.
Okay.
That did not require a restricted covenant. And the type of repairs that we were assisting with at that time was mainly roofs, HVAC systems. You know, we did a very few septic tank replacement, but mainly roofs, HVAC systems, maybe a window, replacement window here or there. Last year with the emergency repair program, we assisted 266 homeowners throughout the entire state. Based upon, and we was revamping the home repair program to provide more assistance, but we're still trying to stay on the outside of the home, like roofs and HVAC systems. And of course, that's when we was coming across roofs that cost way more than $10,000. So that's one of the reasons why we was increasing the dollar amount to still replace roofs, but replace those roofs that needed more assistance. Based on feedback that we received from our advisory committee, based on feedback that we received from our participating nonprofits, they asked that we allocate more dollars to assist with interior repairs. Mm-hmm. And so we knew at that time that we would have to put in place addressing lead-based paint. And that was one of the reasons why we was trying to stay on the outside, so that we didn't have to enforce some of those regulations. But when we received so many requests for interior repairs, so that we can help with the flooring and the electrical and the bathroom upfits and things of that nature, we knew we had to enforce the lead-based paint, addressing mold and things of that nature. And so that's when we had to enforce the restricted covenant. that we are, and we have done it in the past beforehand anyways, not upon the emergency repair program, but we offered it, enforced it upon what we refer to as the owner-occupied rehabilitation program that we offered before COVID, before the pandemic. And we were doing interior work, but it was only up to $25,000 at that time, only up to $25,000. And we did enforce the restricted covenant at that time. We just changed the program because of COVID and tried to provide more assistance to homeowners, but trying to do it on the exterior of the home. And so that's when we just only enforce the emergency repair program without the restricted covenant. And so with feedback we received from our advisory committee, from our nonprofits, that they wanted us to provide more dollars and to address interior work. And so this is where we are today, being able to address those other additional issues, but also addressing lead-based paint with those extra layers. And we provide an additional $25,000 to assist with that, but also comes the restricted covenant.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kilgore, Kevin Eichert, I'm the Director of Growth Management. I guess a question I have for you, and you're talking about the emergency repair fund, the $10,000 that does not have any restrictions to it. Can you confirm you're still saying that if we, let's say we have an applicant that comes in for repairs, their repairs go beyond the amount of money that we have allotted for such repairs, is it possible that we would reach out to you, or does it still have to be a nonprofit that's doing it in order to get the $10,000 for the emergency repairs on the outside to be used, and then additional repairs that that the town can then take care of? Is that something that's possible? Want to be able to make sure that if the funds are available, if it has to, can it be the property owner that comes to you with like the town backing, saying yes, we're providing additional assistance, or does it have to be an authorized nonprofit group bringing this forward?
Yes, sir. It would have to be a participating nonprofit organization requesting those funds
Okay.
for the Housing Trust Fund dollars to be used towards that project.
Okay.
And so I guess to address that question in terms of utilizing our dollars to replace the roof or whatever the case may be, and you use your funds to take care of all the other required repairs that was needed on that property, that could essentially be done. However, once we come out to the home to verify that you are requesting our dollars to be used to replace the roof, we will also still look at the home as well, just to ensure that everything has been addressed in terms of the deficiencies of the home.
Got it. Okay. And I'm just thinking out loud. I'm groups around here, Deep Wells, Bluffton Self-Help. If we were then able to partner with them, and then they started the process through you, and then we kind of pick up on the backside for whatever additional funds, it seems as though that might work. It benefits the property owner, it benefits the nonprofit for assistance, it benefits the town being able to stretch our dollars even more to be able to assist individuals, because that $10,000, it goes a long way, but it doesn't go a long way.
Right.
And the secret is out about our neighborhood assistance program, which is a great thing. We're getting a lot of people, as you heard earlier, that need this assistance, and especially in the Beaufort County area, with the cost of projects are just skyrocketing. That one of our main goals is to make sure we're keeping people in their homes, and this is it's a great program that we have, and I'd love for us to be able to coordinate with you guys to stretch our dollars even more. So definitely an on-off camera type meeting, maybe we can look to facilitate something to move that forward. So I thank you very much for being able to be here to answer the questions that we have. And that's not meant to close this out, but obviously if anyone else had any questions, but I definitely appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. And yes, we love the additional partnership of other funding that can go into a project to do a complete overview, overhaul in terms of the rehabilitation of those projects. So yes, that's a great opportunity to you guys coming in on the back end to finish the repairs. I love that opportunity. And we do partner with other organizations to carry out those types of repair projects. We would love to see more of them. But yes, great opportunity to utilize your funds on top of ours.
Just one quick follow-up question. Do you have a list of nonprofits that you've worked with? And I think that's something that, with Victoria, we could work to maybe get that list, just so that way we know we could, start reaching out to them.
So we will have a list. We've had a list in the past. We're right in the process of recertifying our nonprofit organization. We hope to have this list completed by the end of this month. Once the list is completed, it will be populated on our website.
Very good. Thank you so much.
I will say this, though, as of right now, though, we've pretty much gone through all of our application in terms of the nonprofits interested in participating in the home repair program. So what we're reviewing now today in terms of applications is the ones that are interested in participating in the supportive housing activity.
Got it. Is there a deadline, or is this just a revolving?
Just a revolving.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Any new nonprofit organization interested in partnering with us and participating in any of our activities, they can apply at any given time, sir.
Okay. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Can you also send us that you said that the municipalities can pretty much do be on a lending program, a loan program at 1%. Can you send us documents so we can vet those and see if that's something that works for us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Ms. Kilgore.
Yes, sir.
And I'm with Kevin. I mean, all of us, obviously we're hearing, and I like the possibility of maybe a partnership here with the state to make things go further. What is the reimbursement time if the town was able to partner with you on a program or 2 or 3? What is the reimbursement time from the state?
So I'm used your reimbursement time frame similar to we've done with the South Carolina Office of Resilience to help with their disaster projects. And that's a separate allocation that we did for them. So generally, once they request their funds reimbursement from us, generally 2 to 3 weeks. It's very rare it takes us 30 days to reimburse, but generally 2 to 3 weeks we can get those funds turned around and directed to you. And we'll set it up in terms of electronic deposit for you as well.
Okay, does the request for funding, is that electronic as well, or is that paperwork? Is that
So for a municipality, which is much different than working with our standard nonprofit organization, that generally would come in terms of a letter on your letterhead, whereas you're requesting a set dollar amount reimbursement for funds. And that's when we'll move forward and contact our finance area to process that request.
I mean, when I say that, is that an email or is that a hard copy?
It will be in terms of email, but once we are able to solidify our agreement, and all those things will be outlined in the agreement for you all. Mm-hmm. In the past, we will ask that you hopefully can submit requests for funds on a quarterly basis, but it will be really based upon the activities on your telling us how you'll be utilizing those dollars, because we'll ask how do you plan on utilizing those funds? If it's in terms of home repairs, you know, we ask for documentation on the addresses that you're utilizing the funds, what type of repairs were completed, those sorts of things, as well as pictures. But all that information should be outlined in the agreement.
Ms. Kilgore, do you ever run out of money before the end of the year or the end of the fiscal year?
No, ma'am. We've got programs, dollars allocated for this new fiscal year. We have sufficient funds. We still have approximately $25 million that have not been planned for. And we receive funds on a monthly basis because money is constantly coming in from that documented stamp tax fee from the treasurer. And so we have never came across situation that we run out of money, so to speak.
Okay, that's great. I'm a realtor, and I've worked with the USDA with some loans, you know, for single family, and several times they've run out of money. The people we got the home, we're waiting on the closing, and then the government has run out of funds. I was just curious about that.
Oh, wow. No, ma'am. I haven't heard any staff member, of course, I've only been here for 3 years, but I've got staff members that have been here for 20 years, and no one have said we have ever ran out of money. Okay. And I know where our balances stand as of today. We've got activities already outlined and allocated, but we still have funds still in the coffer, so to speak, that we have opportunity for more activities.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any further questions or concerns?
I have one more, and it may be too deep to get into a discussion about it, so I'll just take a yes, no.
Okay.
Changing horses from repair of homes, and you have so much money that we would love to have. How about when it comes to affordable workforce housing? Do y'all do financing for that as well?
We do not do workforce housing in terms of ownership. Is that what you're referencing, sir?
Well, I mean, even a rental project, ownership or rental.
We do provide funding for rental units, not for home ownership. And so for rental units, we generally utilize our small rental development program, which is a whole new separate program and activity. Nonprofit organizations can apply for those dollars. Generally, and we've set out the rounds that you can apply. And most times is at the beginning of spring is when you submit your application and your plans. We do have a tier 1 and a tier 2 is based upon how large your project is when you would submit your application for funding for those types of projects.
Thank you.
You talked about construction of those rental units?
Yes, sir. Construction.
Construction infrastructure. From
beginning to end.
Wow. Okay.
So three different sources of funds goes into our small rental development program. One is the South Carolina Housing Trust Fund. Secondly is the National Housing Trust Fund. And then thirdly is the Home Investment Partnership Funds. The National Housing Trust Fund and the Home Partnership Fund, all federal dollars that comes from HUD. And of course, the South Carolina Housing Trust Fund. Each funding source have a income requirement, okay, which means that the tenant must meet certain incomes in order to stay in that particular unit. The Housing Trust, the South Carolina Housing Trust Fund is for 80% below of the AMI.
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
For rental units, South Carolina Housing Trust Fund will support individuals living in those units 80% below of the AMI. For the National Housing Trust Fund, which is federal, is 30% and below of the AMI, because that's very, very low income. And for the Home Investment Partnership funding, which is also federal dollars, it is 60% and below of the AMI. And so when a organization submit for funding, of course, we are looking for, how much funds are needed to, to complete that project. We do look at which funding source to utilize to help fund the project to ensure that the organization is collecting enough funds from their rental income to make a cash flow. Okay, so we'll determine most times how to best utilize those dollars so that when your rent is being collected, that you are collecting enough to maintain those units. And we'll determine also whether they'll be in terms of a loan, low-cost loan, or we'll be granting those dollars be totally granted.
So based on the application or based on the product is when you determine whether that could be a grant or loan, or does the applicant request either or?
The applicant certainly can request either or. It's going to be based upon your total development costs, okay, and how much we're able to allocate.
Are there any more concerns or questions for Ms. Kilgore? Ms.
Did I give too much information?
No, ma'am. You've been a wealth of information and a blessing to this meeting. Thank you for your time and thank you for your sharing.
You're welcome.
I hope that that we can use some of your program and of course you have many different tools in the box, and we're gonna do some research to see how we can all benefit from some of this.
Okay, sounds good. If you have any questions after today's meeting and you want to just call me or whatever the case may be to address more questions or provide more clarity, please do not hesitate to reach out to me.
Can I have that information?
Yes, sir. I can give it to you right now if that's okay.
Thank you.
So my direct line is 803-896-9362. And I can give you my email address if you like, or if the phone number is the preferred way. It doesn't matter.
Email us also, please. Thank you.
Okay. So my email address is Felicia, which is FELICIA .Kilgore, which is KILGORE at SC for South Carolina, SC housing.com.
Got it.
Okay. Wonderful.
Again, thank you for your time with us today, and it's been a pleasure sharing with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, would you like me to drop off or stay on?
You can. We're pretty much at the end. But I do have a question. You saw some of what we're doing. Do you have any question for us about the programs and what we offer for for our community here. Any questions you have for us?
Well, I'm excited to see the work that you all are doing. I think you're doing some wonderful things down there for the folks that lives in your community. I am excited to see that federal dollars not necessarily involved in those projects, so they give you a whole lot of flexibility in terms of how you move forward in completing those rehabilitation projects for those homeowners. You can pick and choose on what you can do in terms of your funding source as of today. Our funding source is going to make you do a few more things that you may not necessarily have been doing in the past, if that makes sense. With our home repair program, if there's some electrical issues that we need to address, we have to address it. If the porch is not as stable as it should be, but we can slide by it, we can't slide by it. We have to address it. Okay. So those are some of the layers that our program will enforce that we must abide by and replace or repair. So that's the reason why I know in terms of how you may have been able to provide that assistance, which is wonderful. We will actually do a little bit more a lot of times with our funding source, if that makes sense.
It does, and the sky is not the limit of what we do here now. We don't have the financial resources to do as much as we like, but we do have some guidelines of how of what we are capable of doing or offering.
Yes, sir.
So we started out with the concept of safe and dry, which means, roof, floors, doors, and windows, and we realized later on during the process, if a roof was a problem, then it also caused a problem inside. So we have to consider the walls and possibly even cover, not just repairing the floor, but covering the floor with the finished material. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, our staff and I, and maybe some of our committee members, will probably reach out to you again soon to see if there's any other programs that you can assist us or direct us to that offers something similar, so we can continue our toolbox until we get every millimeter wrench areas in it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I definitely look forward to hearing from you all again.
Okay.
And I certainly want to thank you all for inviting me. Hopefully we can form some partnerships a little bit later on down the road.
Looking forward to it. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. All right, you all have a great day. I'm gonna drop off if that's okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, take care now.
Thank you.
That was a pretty good meeting there with Ms. Kilgore. Is there anything we want to discuss, committee members along with staff, so to see what we think about the opportunities that they offer?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think probably a great thing to do would be for staff, for us to kind of go back offline, start looking at the program that they have in place. And, that was one of the questions that I was asking about, of that funding of the $10,000. Give us an opportunity to get through all the logistics behind that from a programming standpoint, seeing if there is a way to do it just as the town versus having a separate nonprofit like a Deep Well or another group in the area to assist with that. I'd like to be able to get some more information, and maybe we can kind of bring that back to you at the November meeting. I was taking a lot of notes, and that way it'd give us an opportunity to let you guys have maybe a more informed discussion about it, and then we can see from there if that's something that you as the Affordable Housing Committee would like for us to move forward with trying to implement that.
I personally think that's a perfect place to start. And I like your I guess the way that you presented that, because this sounds like a lot of I guess it's going to take some staff as well as council some serious consideration to move forward with this, because Dan asked, and so did I, asked about turnaround time if we decided to use their program for some of our funding. That's always been a major concern dealing with government or state or the state is turnaround time. And because for so many reasons, contractors want their money yesterday, and so putting us on the front line, they want us to make it happen. So
right.
Those are good questions. The other thing you said, maybe, and that's another council probably perspective. Can we qualify if the town established a nonprofit just for a program like this? Because dealing with another agency or another nonprofit doesn't give us control. It gives us and control is important, because we can control the entire negotiation from start to finish. That means a lot to know that we don't have to wait on somebody else's opinion. Anyone else?
Well, I'm with you. I like the fact, Kevin, that the way you're approaching it too. I think there's too much information to be dug into, and then bringing it back and boiling it down and presenting it back to the committee. For example, one thing that I'm a little concerned about, just through my lens, is the 20-year restriction, deed restriction. And, that can be good, that can be bad. If you're a homeowner just trying to get repairs to your home, and then you get hit with a 20-year restriction on it, deed restriction, that might work against you in some instances, unless there was a way to navigate that where after 10 years, maybe you want to sell your home. Maybe that's something with a deed restriction left on it. Maybe the town might step in and say, well, we want that in our portfolio. I don't know. These are things that have to be thought out and worked out. And then also the prospect of eventual, we're not going to stop with the housing program that we're doing for new construction where we are today. So that's a whole nother discussion to try to figure out how we can get into that and go forward. And one last thing, not promoting them in any way. I hear what Chairman Hamilton is saying about control, and I get that, and I agree with that. But again, I'm learning that, and this, the Beaufort Housing Authority is a world of information, flexible, and she's probably worked with them on some of these very issues. So,
Right.
just a thought.
I think she said that they haven't worked with the housing authority, and I think the only person locally that they work with is the Black Chamber. So I think I heard her say that they haven't worked with the housing authority, which surprises me. But it may go back to a part of the deed restriction that the program needs. But that's a, you know, I see this as being something that we can get a lot from. Yeah, there's a lot here. Yeah, and you're right. We got to take some time to dissect it. And Kevin, and you and staff, please, make sure that we, if we can recap some of those attributes that this program has, and in our next meeting, if we can have some of this to discuss. This will give us, and you guys facilitate that part of it. We can help the committee and those who are not here today get a little closer to it and understand some of these possibilities or some of these things that we might feel like it works or it fit for Bluffton.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was taking notes throughout this, so it seems as though that the $10,000 fund or program that they have, obviously that doesn't have any deed restrictions to it. So I hate to say it, but governmental red tape, when you start dealing with deed restrictions, it's almost better to just kind of stay away from that. I think that with that $10,000 addition to what we're doing, the bargaining power that we then have, we can start to tackle maybe some more in-depth projects to assist the families around here.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir. We didn't ask for a website. I'm sure it's South Carolina Housing, but if we could get that website.
Sure thing. I think she's on here, and we'll make sure that when we send out information, we can definitely send that out.
Yes, I'll send a link. I'll put it in the email once we get off.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Gwen, I see you itching over there.
I am very much. I also don't want us to forget about the small rental development program. That could be an option for us as well to have as a resource in our toolbox. I know that you guys are. I like the idea of the staff working on the different options and what's available, but just not. I know that program is only offered to nonprofits, but maybe. And it takes a year for a nonprofit to be eligible for their program, but maybe we can look into some resources for that as well, and that'd be another arm of what we do for our committee.
No, it doesn't take a year. They have to be a nonprofit for at least a year.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts?
Fred, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Hold on a second, let me kill that. Something that you and I have been dealing with recently, and this is a different topic, but this is just, I'm throwing it out there so it can be looked at or thought about between you and staff. These voucher payments that are available through HUD, the numbers are getting large now. A 3-bedroom is $2,203 a month. A 4-bedroom is $2,878. We've been talking a while now about trying to take different approaches, and some of these some of these builders that are building apartments in Bluffton, we've thought about, is there a way to partner with some of them? And we haven't really been able to come up with a good idea yet. But what I'm trying to say is some of these voucher programs, the numbers are getting large enough that it might be we could find a way to partner with somebody building some townhomes or apartments for a certain number or percentage, whatever it might be, whether it's 5, 10, or 10% or 20%. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what the answers are, but it's definitely worth thinking about.
And somebody's reading your mind.
Yeah, hopefully you can see, and I guess Councilman Hamilton, it's kind of a transition into the next topic that we had. You had requested some information about, what's the cost right now for individuals? What can you expect someone to have to pay either for a rental unit or if they had a home ownership, what's an anticipated cost for someone with that? And if you don't mind, I can go ahead and just kind of run through some of this information, just based off of what Dan's concern was. And what he's referring to is the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through the Beaufort Housing Authority. They have this ability to, you potentially could get up to, and this is for the cost of various housing. If a homeowner, is renting their home, and you are in the program with the Housing Choice Voucher Program through Beaufort Housing Authority, and the homeowner will accept the program, because of the rental rates in Beaufort County. They are so much higher than almost every other county in South Carolina. HUD has authorized the Housing Authority to have a higher rate. So you can see that fair market rents, and we'll just stick with a 2-bedroom for discussion purposes, is at $1,463. So that's what is, if
Kevin,
someone, yes,
Kevin,
sir.
Is there any way you can make your screen a little larger? That's better. Can y'all
Okay.
see that?
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
on that comment you just made, correct me if I say it wrong, but on the fair market rents that you're showing there in the 2-bedroom example,
Yeah.
that is a Beaufort County number. That is not a Bluffton number.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted everybody to understand that.
Yep. Beaufort County. And that's actually gone up from the information that we've had. So, so you can see how, and this, again, this is just for the housing voucher program. This is what this means is that if a property owner of a single family residence decides to rent their property, and their person A, person B is part of the Housing Choice Voucher Program, what they could do is go to that property owner and potentially be able to pay up to, at 120%, that $1,755 for a 2-bedroom rental unit. And with the way the prices are going, let's hypothetically say that a 2-bedroom house is renting for $2,000 a month. This Housing Choice Voucher Program will pay that $1,755 directly to the property owner, and then you, as the renter, you are responsible for the $245, the gap. You're responsible for that gap. I believe that as of right now, the Housing Authority has, I think I had listed, it was over like 649 individuals or families that are part of the voucher program right now in Beaufort County. 86 of them are in the Bluffton area. So, we always talk about, is there affordable housing? There's programs out there. This is one such program that I think that can be promoted a little bit more on our end to assist with the Housing Authority, ultimately assisting with everyone. But this is a program that they can, people can apply to be part of it, and then you take that, you can take that voucher with you. So again, you are renting from person A, and then a year later, you find a different unit with person C, you can take your program voucher with you to person C if they will accept it. And then person A, they can either, look to assist other people with the voucher program, or they can just put it right back on the market as a normal rental. So that's one of the programs that the Housing Authority has right now.
Kevin, do you know who qualifies for the voucher program?
There is a process, and unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me right this very moment. And I can get that from Angela Childers.
Right.
I know that she's provided that. I don't want to give you the exact number until I'm concrete with it. And I just didn't have it pulled up at this very moment. But I can definitely get you that information. It's on their website through the program. And of course, like with everything, there's an application to fill out.
Right.
So I think that was one of the questions with this housing choice voucher program. And there's kind of been some discussions of, is there a way that we can partnership with apartment complexes around here and Beaufort Housing Authority to almost have a set number of programs that could potentially be used at each apartment. So that way, while someone may move out, but they can still potentially keep a unit or whatever number of units available for individuals that would be in that program.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something that we're looking into.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
on those numbers, the ones at the top, those numbers are actually inclusive of utilities.
Yep.
So the utility number in the 2-bedroom example of 1755, that is supposed to include utilities, according to Angela.
Okay. All right. And I think the only thing it doesn't include is like phone. But water, sewer, power, and I can confirm about like internet. I don't think that would include internet or telephone.
Kevin.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was, I must have fallen asleep at the beginning of the presentation. Is this what the recipients would get? This is the voucher, a one like for 2-bedroom, 1755. Is that what you're saying?
They receive the benefit. So the property owner. So if you own a property and you're renting it out, and someone comes to you to rent your property and they are part of the housing choice voucher, mm-hmm. If you decide to go into a contract with them for a long-term lease, what happens is that the Beaufort Housing Authority will pay the property owner directly. They'll pay them directly the $17.55.
Okay, so that's like similar to a Section 8.
Yes, they've gone away from that connotation, okay. and it's in essence is the same thing. It's the housing choice voucher program.
Okay.
Okay. But they're just trying to get away from using that terminology.
Yeah, it's not received well by the owners. No.
And then so again, you have to then fill in the gap. So if someone is renting it for $2,000, mm-hmm. The housing authority will pay the property owner directly the $17.55.
Okay.
And then you as the rentee are responsible for paying that gap of whatever that property owner decides.
Okay.
So that was the one program. I think a question had also, and I'll try to make this as big as possible, had come up about what is affordable housing, and this is if someone were to purchase a home, and I think part of that's coming through, and Councilman Hamilton, correct me if I'm wrong, as we move forward with the all the phases in construction with the affordable units through the town, what could someone anticipate as being a cost? And again, it's a turnkey operation with state of mind partners, so they are responsible for handling all of the programming, the funding, the selection of individuals. We're kind of staying out of that, but you could, a family of three, if they're making 80% AMI, what you could expect. This is their annual salary. And maybe I'll use the family of two just for purposes of being able to see the titles here. Gross income 55.5. There's the monthly breakdown. Rent before adding the utilities, what can be expected, the utility allowance from HUD. So that gets you up to that 13,883, and that's with a loan amount based on $160,000. And then you can expect that someone would have in essence, a mortgage payment of $1,300. Now that loan amount doesn't necessarily reflect the actual cost of the unit, and that's where the incentives come in with the town being able to bring down the cost, because the unit is going to cost the same no matter what. So a unit might cost $300,000 for construction of it, but whatever is incentivized helps to bring down the cost for the person that is then living there. So it has to be paid for somehow. So then their loan amount, would be at a lower amount than what someone would paying a higher amount. So that kind of gives you an idea of what someone could then expect to be paying. And again, and that's based on a 5% mortgage, or a mortgage rate right now, which it has been fluctuating, unfortunately. And we can make sure to provide a copy of this to everyone. This is information I think we've handed out in years past. Obviously, this one's been updated for 2022, and typically it's early to mid the year when this information is sent out. So we would probably update it again at some point in March of next year, based off of 2023. And again, this is everything. It depends. This is just a kind of like a snapshot. Doesn't necessarily mean it's to the penny of what someone would expect to pay.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone had any other questions.
No, but I tell you what, this is going to sound like out of the sky kind of thinking, but going into the future, some of the people that are building the rental units, it's almost like the vouchers are lucrative enough that even if the town came up with another subsidy to help somebody on top of the voucher that they could receive from HUD, it would almost make more sense than building something. You know what I'm saying? In other words, not a home ownership situation, a rental situation.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, yes, you would have to, because rents are just so high in this area, like, it's definitely something to look into. And it's really, depending on people, and I don't know how many properties are even for rent right now. But it's it's guaranteed money. Each month the housing authority will be, paying that portion of the rent that you know will definitely be there. So
let me let me thank all of you here in advance, because our job and our commitment to this effort is roll up your sleeve time. So I'm going to thank you in advance, because it's not going to be a cakewalk to deal with the issues that we face not only in our county, but just in Bluffton alone. So you're going to have some patience. You're going to have some endurance, and we definitely got to have all of us putting our hands on the plow to move, to continue this effort. You know, we can get burnt out because, believe it or not, it's going to be even a slow process. But every time we have meetings like today, it gives me a little bit more enthusiastic to say, you know, I can see at least another opportunity. But being creative, being kind of thinking on the same path, all of us have to be involved to a place where we bring our expertise or our knowledge, and let's collaboratively use that to be a blessing to our community. But Dan and I went to a meeting yesterday, and there are people thinking outside the box there, and basically that's what I'm saying we have to do too. We have to think outside the box. We have to know that it's not a one size fit all, and it's not going to happen tomorrow, but we got to keep working on it. And I want to thank you in advance that you committed to doing this, committed to being a servant in this capacity. Thank you. Anything else for the good of another wonderful meeting? Okay. Kevin, also, you and Victoria, next month we'll like an update on the housing project with State of Mind, please.
yes, sir.
All right. And so that you guys know, there are some movement. Things are still moving. There was a meeting with State of Mind this week, and some progress was made. Okay, just don't have it all that I feel like is dotted to or signed off on yet to share, but I've heard that there's some positive advancement in the process. Okay. All right. Thank you. Again, have a wonderful day. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.